Good afternoon. It's August 27th, 2022. We're here with Chad Hutsell and Sonny Riley, representing the Flying Five and Big Bend Rodeo companies, here to induct their great saddle bronc spring planting into the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame. Gentlemen, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Your rodeo companies have been part of the Ellensburg Rodeo Hall of Fame for some time now, and this is your second animal inducted into our Hall of Fame. That I'll have to go back and look at the archives, but that might be a record, fellas.
Well, that'd be a good one to have.
You bet. For the record, Sonny, we'll start with you.
Okay.
State your full name, date of birth, and birthplace.
Sonny Riley, 12/20/46, and I was born in the clinic at Colfax, Washington.
Colfax, Washington, in the Palouse. How about you, Chad?
My name's Chad Hutsell. I was born in Spokane, Washington. My birth date's 5/24/68.
Chad, we'll stick with you. Tell us a little bit about your mother and father's ancestry.
Well, on my mom's side, they were wheat farmers.
Okay.
Farther back, great-grandparents. Grandparents was butchers. And then on my dad's side, it goes back to livestock going as stockyards, sale yards, and stock contractors.
Okay. How about you, Sonny? Your people, what are they?
My grandfather, he come from back in the east, and he come out here when he was 19 years old, kind of bumming and dumbing, and he became a farmer, and he raised a lot of draft horses and mules. They harvested with mules and horses. He was one of the very first ones to have a stationary harvest outfit.
Oh, the heck. Okay.
But he'd wean anywhere around 100 head of mule colts and workhorse colts a year. And I guess that's where my side come from on my dad's side, and my grandpa on that side, they were wheat farmers and raised lots of hogs, milked a lot of cows and stuff. That's my life history, just agriculture. That's all I know.
Did the mule and workhorse program, is that what evolved into the bucking horse deal, or not necessarily?
No, not really.
Okay.
Dad was big on the cattle. Dad had registered Appaloosies, and he was big in back in the days when he owned a horse by the name of Nobby, and he was his registration number was 300. So he goes way back into the Appaloosie deal.
Okay.
And it's just more or less the horse end of the deal. When we was kids, Dad, any them registered colts that got wire cut or something, we got to buck them, and my grandpa, he'd buy us ponies and buck them.
Okay.
And that's just kind of how we got in the bucking horse deal. Then we started putting on junior rodeos.
Okay.
Then me and Donnie and Tom and Donnie and Tom's brother-in-law, we kind of started the Flying Five.
Okay.
That's how we got it going, was the Flying Five, where there's 5 of us, and Donnie and I guess we was the only 2 brave enough or dumb enough to wear it out.
But you were all in that Palouse country.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was raised more on the Snake River before Little Lewiston, Idaho, and the river bluffs there and stuff. And
So it was rodeo first, and then stock contracting. You guys rode bucking horses first. And
yeah, we rode horses. I junior rodeoed and amateur rodeoed, and then we started out in the amateur deal, then we graduated into the PRCA. Well, it was RCA when we started.
when did your company buy their card?
Oh boy, I don't. When?
74.
74.
Okay. When did you first start knowing about the Ellensburg Rodeo, or when was the?
I came to Ellensburg to the rodeo when Joe Kelsey and Ralph McLean, and I can't remember who all was here, but I brought a few horses, we did, and I picked up here with them.
Okay. And so Kelsey had the contract, and you brought some horses.
I think Kelsey had the contract, yeah, okay. Joe Kelsey and Ralph McLean.
Got it. Chad, how did you get involved in this outfit?
I was born into it.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Yeah, I was born into it. Dad and Sonny have always been partners as long as I've been born. Okay. So just through the years of being the one out back and help feed and do what we could, and then kind of got away from it. And then when they expanded it and added another card to it, I was ranching, and they needed a pickup man, and they said grab some saddle horses and come. And okay. So now I'm back in it. And that's been the early 90s.
Okay. Well, it's been fun to watch these rodeo companies continue with another generation. Daniel's on our Hall of Fame board, Daniel Beard, and he and I were talking earlier this evening about you guys are about the same age, or?
Yeah, me and Dan.
Yeah. And so you had a common experience growing up in a stock contracting family, and just kind of seems natural, I suppose.
Yeah, and what was funny about it, when Daniel called me up, he was cleaning out some stuff from his grandfather's place.
Yeah.
And he sent me a list of horses that my grandfather bought from, I want to say, Daniel's grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Yeah, great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Yes.
Johnny Van Bell.
Yep, that's who it was.
Yep.
And where the horses went to, well, some of the horses went to Dad and Sonny.
I'll be darned.
That Grandpa bought at that sale. So yeah, Daniel found all them records, and that was pretty interesting.
Well, I can remember conducting one of these interviews with Frank Beard, and him telling about gathering horses and driving them up the Yakima Valley.
Yep.
Part of Johnny's program.
Yep.
He stole his daughter, I guess.
Yeah.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss those folks.
Well, that's kind of the flying, Donnie and I had the Flying Five, and then we bought Joe Kelsey and McLean out. Joe passed away, and Ralph took over the Kelsey deal, and we bought it out. And then that's how we brought the Big Bend name back, from when Ed Ring and Chad's grandpa, Bill Hutsell.
So Ed and Bill Hutsell had Big
Bud
Bend.
King.
Okay, Bud King was a part of that.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Getting a little Washington State rodeo history now.
We gathered up all the stuff. We started the Flying Five and then bought out Big Bend. That's why we had the two outfits.
Let's go to the star of the night, spring planning. What can you tell us about her? Her record speaks for herself. What 2 times Bronc of the Year, 8 times top 3 in the PRCA Bronc riding Horse of the Year. I don't know how many times Columbia River Circuit. What's she like?
Actually, around us, she's personable. You know,
Okay.
she likes to be scratched and talked to, but when she doesn't want it, then she doesn't want it.
Okay.
Very calm acting, handling.
Okay.
Kind of has to be. She's been on a truck since she was 5.
Sure.
Been all over parts of Canada and all the way down to from Calgary to Houston to San Juan Capistrano, California to Cloverdale, British Columbia, and every point in between.
I think folks believe that bucking horses are wild horses, and I suppose some of them are wild, but your comment about she about had to be mellow or easy to get along with, and that travel, I think, would make that so.
Yep.
She's part of the You hear it at every PRCA rodeo, Born to Buck program. She was bred to be a bucking horse.
Yep.
Yeah. Her daddy was Iron Mountain.
Spring break.
Spring Break?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Spring Break was out of Iron Mountain, and Iron
Okay.
Mountain come from the Shawls in Montana, and Donnie bought him, and then we had Spring Break. He was out of Spring Rose,
Okay.
and so, well, and her mother was Jubilee, right?
Right.
Okay.
Jubilee, and Donnie and I, we raised her back when we really didn't keep track, but in like 1990, I started branding all them colts
Okay.
the same as her mama on the right shoulder, their daddy on the left shoulder,
Okay.
the year they're born on the right cheek of their rear end under their tail.
Okay.
So I kind of had track, we kept track of them and going, and nowadays the colts that's born, you can go back and look at their daddies and their mamas, you can pretty well tell you they're going to buck.
You knew early on that spring planting was going to buck.
Well, more or less,
Yeah.
from her genetics.
Yeah.
Them genetics are just like cutting horses, running horses.
Sure. Yeah.
It's bred in them.
And then like on her though, we got records that we know for a fact she'd be a third generation.
Okay.
So,
That's not always the case. You pasture breed, I suppose, and
Yep.
big country, you don't necessarily know what to.
yeah. So
We try to keep them mares and studs separate,
Okay.
and then when they come in, we know what mares went with every stud in the spring.
Okay.
And we know when they come back, when we brand them, we take their mama and put them right through a silencer chute, and we brand them, and we know pretty well. Milt Bradford, he was from Texas, and he was big in the cutting horse world. He started DNAing, and they said I couldn't be right, but he said Sonny would, if he said what they were bred from and out of, he said we've got papers to show that they
We
are.
can prove it.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. You said the Shaw name from Montana. Bobby Shaw, is that a part of that
Senior,
outfit?
yeah, it'd be
Okay.
his dad.
Okay. I remember old Bobby, he just could move about like that.
Yeah, then young Bobby was about my age,
Okay.
that rode the bucking horses.
Yeah.
I imagine his dad.
Okay.
Him and his sisters and us, and Jeff Copenhagen, we rodeoed together when we was kids.
Okay. Yeah. What? How is a bucking horse handled, or are they? They're foaled, and then do you bring them in, and are they worked with at all? I mean, what's the different than halter break? Imprinting your foal, there's probably not a lot of foal imprinting, or I don't know. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, like when she was born and stuff, and at that time, Dad and Sonny packed a lot of mares and colts.
Okay.
So from about after the July 4th, them brood mares would get on the road with them, and then colts would go.
Okay.
So they learned from their moms how to load, and then when we'd sort them off, they got where they weren't afraid of people or the trucks
Okay.
or the crowd,
Okay.
noise, the whole works. And then once they weaned them, they kicked them out here. What was that? Out here at Vantage.
Oh, all them mares, yeah. Oh, the yearlings and
yeah,
stuff.
all the
I'd
yearlings.
take the Wheelands colts home and feed them oats and hay all winter, and then we'd take them and bring them down here. Vantage out here where it burnt.
Oh, okay.
We
yeah.
run horses out in there with Cal Cartwright for
Oh yeah.
quite a
yeah.
years.
I went up there, Brandon, a time or two with
Yeah.
Ellensburg. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
What was his name? Stanley?
Yep.
Okay.
He was out there, yeah, with Cal.
So I was kind of teasing about the imprinting, but those foals were taught how to
Kinda,
load
yeah.
and be around the rodeo.
Yep.
Them bucking horses, them colts ain't crazy. They're just, they
No.
get kind of like, your registered colts they raise around the Ellensburg Valley here. They
Okay.
they've got a personality of their own. The goofy ones and the crazy ones most certainly don't do nothing.
Aren't
Aren't
good
no
bucking
good at
horses.
all.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have got a few. I told Donnie, we had to get a little fire, and we needed a stud with some fire and to breed them great big mares too.
Okay.
And maybe we got too much fire, but it still shows up today too.
It does.
Is there ever an instance where you, the rodeo announcer loves to tell about the guy that brings his horse in that bucks everybody off to try out to be a bucking horse? And that wasn't spring plantings route, or does that happen at all, or is that just a myth?
No, when I was a kid, a lot of these horses that Dad and Sonny did put together at the time before they started their breeding program did come off.
That's how that worked.
Yeah,
Okay.
come off them cow ranches and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like Billy Buck that come from Johnny Van Bell, Frank's father-in-law, he was a spoiled shot. He was a Page Lee.
Oh, yeah.
He was a papered horse.
Okay.
But Donnie and I got so we wouldn't hardly take any of them horses in because we was raising so many horses. You bring in a stray horse, they bring the distemper with them, and
Sure.
and they just don't work.
Got it.
We pretty well now, if we buy a horse, it'd probably be a mare that really bucks to induce our bringing new genetics in. But as far as buying a horse to buck that's bucking everybody off, we pretty well stay away from that
Done
anymore.
with that deal. Tell us some Ellensburg rodeo stories. What do you remember about the Ellensburg rodeo that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Oh boy, I don't know. It was a big deal to come to Ellensburg. I mean, we'd held Mom, Dad, Bill, Donnie, it was just kind of a family, kind of like Meeker's Carnival.
Okay.
We all moved in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I've been conducting these interviews for some time now, and you hear that repeatedly. Ellensburg's a special place to come. It doesn't matter if it's a contestant or a contractor. People seem to like it. Fall of the year, into summer, people just like it.
Yeah.
There for a while, I never came to Ellensburg, and then they needed another picket man. The first time I came to Ellensburg, I was very nervous.
Okay. Big stage.
Well, for me
You
at
bet.
that time
Yeah.
it was.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, for me, I guess bringing them few horses and bulls and picking out with Joe and Ralph and them guys, hell, that was kind of that was a hot shot big deal. It's kind of like meeting the President of the United States. I mean, it was a big deal to
Yes,
get
sir.
to Ellensburg. We wasn't at no little podunk deal.
No,
we was uptown with the big boys.
The Ellensburg Rodeo. Well, fellas, I appreciate you being here today. Do you, any closing comments or anything you'd like to let the folks know that are going to be watching this?
Boy, I don't know any closing deal. I mean, maybe I hope there never is a closing end or a
There you
closing deal
go.
until
Yeah.
we die.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. That's maybe I worded that wrong.
Well,
but,
that's what I told him coming down here. I said, by God, I better get down here because it might be my last chance. I could die any day.
Well, they were laying odds whether it'd just be Chad or you and Don. Did
Yeah.
Don come?
But they got an old saying, too. They say only the good dies young, so I don't got nothing to worry about.
Well, I'll leave that for the judger. But how about you, Chad?
Well, I'm very honored to be here to do this for this great mare. I've never done anything like this before, and I've heard all about it, and to come to Ellensburg for this Hall of Fame, and I'm just honored to be here to honor a great mare.
We're tickled to have you, and thanks for having such a great horse and string of horses. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.